Are you tired of playing by the rules? Tired of doing what you're supposed to when all you really want to do is burn the damn rule book and start fresh? I get it. I've done it more than once. And let me tell you, freedom tastes better than approval ever could. Welcome to Her Gypsy Rebel, the podcast for those who crave more creativity, more space, more of your own damn life on your own terms. I am Jacqueline Van Bierk, aka Pink Star, a musician, artist, traveler, and professional rule breaker, bringing you real, unfiltered conversations about reinvention, confidence, and making space for what actually matters. So grab a coffee, a tea, something a little stronger, because this is where the rebellion begins. Hello and welcome back to Her Gypsy Rebel with your host, Jacqueline Van Bierk. How are you guys doing today? I have a special guest today, Jon Siren. He's a drummer, touring musician, successfully touring for like over a decade. I've known him for quite some time. We used to play shows together in Los Angeles. And I'm excited to have a conversation with him about touring, staying busy, being on the road, and just life on the road in general. And also, he is a vegan and he has a book out, The Touring Vegan, which you should all grab. But with no further ado, here is Jon. How are you, Jon?
Excellent, excellent. How are you?
Good. It's so good to have you
Oh, should
back.
I be in, sorry, should I be in
Oh, yeah,
this
that's good.
mode?
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
probably better there. Okay, sorry about
Oh, yeah.
that.
Now we match. No, that's totally fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, awesome. It's so great to have you back on the podcast. You've been on the show when it was called The Stories That Bind Us, and we talked about your awesome vegan book and touring.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's been 4 or 5 years. I don't even know. But
It's been several. I know that,
yeah,
so
honestly, ever since the pandemic, I feel like time is just whatever. I know
yeah, it's definitely gone by really quickly for me at least. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But
So
man, I just love you so much because first of all, we met in LA when you were in Mankind Is Obsolete, a band that you started and you were heavily involved with and just playing a lot of shows. And then ever since that didn't work out, my band Otto's Daughter, we're not we actually play shows once a year, I guess. But
that's cool. Yeah.
yeah, I know, right? It's so fun. I'm like, I want more. But what I love so much about you is you're always busy. You just really found a way to get yourself on tour. You've been really good at networking and you're also obviously a great drummer. You're really doing it. You're living the dream. How has it been? As musicians, I think it's always more glamorous on the outside, right? Obviously, it's not all champagne and parties and whatnot. But
Right.
at the same time, you're doing what you love, right? You're not behind a desk somewhere doing some boring ass job and killing your spirits and your soul. You're doing what you love. And you've continued doing that. And I just love that and I admire that so much that you just have that perseverance and that work ethic and that you get to fucking travel the world. How awesome is that?
Oh, no, that part is excellent. I mean, that's a huge part of continuing to do what I do is the travel and getting to be in all these different environments. I mean, a lot of musicians, myself included, understand that, you might get to see a lot of cities. You might be like driving in a city and you might see it from the vehicle that you're in, or if you're flying in. But then you're quickly in a club and you're there until the end of it, and maybe you're at a hotel or you're driving to the next city, so you don't really get to see as much of what the city has to offer unless there's maybe a day off where you can be in town and do some exploring, which fortunately over the years I've gotten to do, quite a bit of that. But yeah, it's not always the case, even though I do enjoy the traveling and being in a different environment, even if it's just a change of the weather. Because I'm living in Los Angeles. I mean, it's summer most of the time here, so it's really nice to go to some of these other extreme areas where you're super far north, maybe closer to the Arctic Circle, and you're playing a show in winter, and
So cool.
just being in that sort of an environment, or being someplace very tropical. So yeah, there's a lot of extremes that you can, I guess, experience, and that is a huge positive side to doing this sort of thing. Absolutely. So, but
Amazing.
I mean, ever since the pandemic sort of was wrapping up with all that, I've been on the road for the most part
That's really
consistently. I'd say most of the year I'm on the road. This year in particular has been the busiest year. I literally only have this month of August off, and the rest of the time I've been out. So with maybe like a day or two, or sometimes
yeah.
as much as like 3 or 4 days between a tour, but not. I mean, we're not talking like this huge time. I mean, so the moment I get home, I'm shifting gears into the next band that I'm going out with typically. So
Mm,
yeah, it's been definitely a tornado, and that's part of the reason why it feels like, these last 5 years have gone by so quickly. But
that's
I mean,
awesome.
on some ways, the pandemic was maybe a blessing in disguise because it did allow me to just stop for a moment and sort of regroup and just completely change what I was doing. And I got to just sort of focus on practicing the drums, which you don't actually, I mean, you're performing when you're
Right.
out on tour, but you don't get to really, work too much on some of the holes in your playing. So I really enjoyed that time period, in spite of it being, us kind of trapped,
I know.
in isolation. But it allowed for that. So that was a good, the good part of it all. So yeah.
And I love that you're saying because you obviously play drums all the time, but I like that you're saying, and then I go and practice. I practice some more because I want to get better. I want to learn different techniques and styles. Can you tell us a little bit about do you have a specific kind of working like a schedule or like do you find new music that you're kind of inspired by or different genres or what specific songs?
Absolutely. Yeah. If things are kind of going light for me as far as preparing for certain tours, or maybe a tour that I'm about to do has music that I'm very familiar with, it opens the door for me working on maybe other music, just for the joy of doing it, or maybe for the challenge of doing it. Maybe there's a song where I'm like, wow, I would really like to play that, or learn whatever it is that that drummer is doing.
Mm-hmm.
So during those times of practice, I'm able to do that sort of thing. But I'd say in the last few years, my practice is generally spent either learning new material from bands, because I have a few bands that I work with sort of regularly, but then there are bands that hire me for simply like a tour. They just need a drummer. Maybe they're a band from Europe or something, but they need to hire a US drummer for a tour because of visas and all that, to keep costs lower. It could be a number of reasons, but that's certainly one of them. Uh, and anyway, so I've got to get really familiar with that music. Maybe sometimes I don't know it too well, and so I'll have to immerse myself into it, and that ends up being the focus. So, and if there's like a difficult drum line, I mean, the way that I structure my practice is often I warm up typically on some technique stuff, which usually takes about a half an hour. And I start kind of slow and build, I have like a series of little things I do for my feet and my hands. And I just start really slow and I kind of build it up. And then
Mm.
when I get to a speed where it's difficult, I'll mess with it for a bit, but if it starts to sound sloppy, I just kind of like I'll stop for that day and know that I'll pick it up the next day. And then I'll go on to songs, and then trouble spots within songs. Like I can think of, I don't know, there's with all the songs that I need to have together for these next few tours, there's maybe like 10 drum grooves or transitions or something like that that will cause me a little bit of trouble, where I'll be
Mm.
like, ooh, that's a little sloppy when I do that. Maybe there's something weird with the foot technique that I have to do. And so, and I take that same approach where I'll just play it really slow, and maybe I'll just do a mental practice too if I'm at home and not even around a drum kit, and I'll just kind of like air drum but really slow and break those parts down, and then just keep bringing it up. But I really enjoy doing that. I guess it's like going to the gym and training. Often if you're a person that likes to lift weights, you want to start off with lighter weights and do something that's really comfortable and just get that movement down first, and then you can start adding more weight as you feel more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So same with like speed and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So, and
So
sometimes are you always practicing with the band, or sometimes you just like practice on your own and then you just like bam, and you're on tour, like one, two practices, and then you go on tour.
that's often the case. I mean that this is interesting because yeah, when I was growing up, I had this concept of what a band is and just sort of how a band would behave as far as how we would go about things, and usually that meant a lot of practicing and camaraderie, and we're all hanging out and we're doing stuff together and we're practicing together constantly. And I don't know if things have changed because of the ability to practice a lot on our own.
Right.
I mean, often I'm playing because I play a lot of with a lot of electronic bands. So for people that are familiar with music and maybe how certain things are done, there's a lot of electronic music that is performed to a click. And a click is basically a metronome, and often the drummer hears it at least, but sometimes singers or guitar players, they could also potentially hear that in their little in-ear monitors that they have. So, and that's what kind of keeps things together. And so, that being said, the need to get together and practice, it becomes less of a thing. And so I think just, you know, based on that, like, well, for starters, a band doesn't have to all live in the same city then.
Right.
Because if we all have the music and we know the arrangements and we can all practice to this click on our own, then we sort of have an idea of what needs to happen for the show. And then usually if we have a rehearsal, I mean, there's sometimes where I don't even have a rehearsal at all. Now, I don't usually like that. I do
Yeah.
like to have at least a rehearsal because you're dealing with sort of technical stuff, or maybe the singer might want me to do some sort of a fill that gets them into a section. It could be a number of scenarios, but usually having at least one rehearsal where you can go over some of these things, or maybe go over some of the technical stuff, that could really be helpful. But a lot can be done on our own. And so often I just mostly practice and rehearse by myself. If I'm working with a new artist, sometimes they'll have me record something. I've been working occasionally with Mortis from he's from Norway, Norwegian
Mm.
musician. So, when I started a tour with him earlier in the year, he just had me, since he had never really seen me play except for whatever's on YouTube or something like that. He was like, "All right, can you just send some videos of you playing the stuff?" And so I would record myself just on my cell phone and put the music to it, and then just send, kind of like you see drum play through videos and things like
Mm.
that on YouTube. I would do something like that. I would just send it to him. And so he'd be like, okay, that's really cool. Can you add a little bit more here? Or maybe pull away there and do a little bit less, and kind of critique it so that we can
Mm.
fine tune things by ourselves without having to be even in the same country. So,
Crazy.
let alone same room and all that kind of stuff. I mean, having a rehearsal, it's awesome, but even if everybody lives in the same city, you could live in Los Angeles where the traffic's terrible and somebody lives on the east side, someone's on the west side, there's rush hour, and it's just like, so having that rehearsal is like, it's just so much work to do that rather than just be like, all right, everybody, we all know what to do, right? Just having some good communication, and then coming together maybe like one time to just iron out a few things and then going off and doing the tour.
I feel as
So,
a singer, like I love practicing because like, when we did the Artist Daughter thing, we had like 3 or 4 rehearsals, which wasn't that much this time. But I can so feel the difference, like when I'm rehearsing with the band, because then my voice gets really strong again versus like being by myself is qu not quite the same.
yeah,
And yeah, and then you kind of have to trust that the musicians are freaking good. You know what I mean? That they remember shit. That's that's
right.
but you got, obviously you're hired because of that. So you played with Psyclon Nine. I don't know if you still play with
Hmm.
them sometimes, and
Yeah, yeah,
IMX.
we did a tour just
I thought so, yeah.
we did uh-huh.
That's amazing. And who you touring with next?
So next up is Frontline Assembly. So which is really cool. I mean, it's a band I grew up listening to.
That's
I
awesome.
like a lot of different genres of music, but as far as industrial type bands, they were always one of my favorites. So it's an honor to be able to drum with them. And
That's great.
yeah, and we're doing something kind of unique. I mean, we're actually playing some songs that I don't believe they've even performed live. I mean, these are early Wax tracks. They were on
Oh,
sort
wow.
of this very important label with electronic music and alternative music called Wax Tracks, and they put out a few different records on that label, and so we're focusing on that time period, which for them was, I'd say, mid to late 80s into the early 90s. They had a few releases on Wax Tracks, so we're focusing on that for this tour, and we're going out with Nights Arab and Mentello and the Fixer and Led into Gold and Clock DVA. So it's a lot of these, I guess, legends within the scene that
Wow,
are all
nice.
doing this tour together. I know
Wow.
Douglas is has passed away from Nights Arab, unfortunately. I mean, so Bon is doing the vocals, but Nights Arab has been carrying on. Um, so I think this will be the first tour though since his passing that Nights Arab is doing. So
Oh,
yeah, that will be a really cool tour, and it's an honor for me because yeah, I mean a lot of these musicians, I very much idolized as a younger person, when I was listening to a lot of industrial music. And so yeah, I mean Paul Barker, I mean he's rad, so he'll be out there, and
that's
yeah,
fucking
it should be
cool.
cool. So
That is so awesome. And is this going to be in Europe and or the States or both?
this is just in the US.
Okay.
So I know Frontline's planning on doing some other tours. I mean, them specifically. I don't know about. I can't speak for the other bands. Frontline will do some more touring next year. Unfortunately, I will not be drumming with them because it'll be at the same time as an IMX tour that
Okay.
I'm doing. In fact, we're all on the same festival. So,
That's
I
awesome.
mean, it's sad because, of course, I love getting to play with the group. That is one of the challenges of doing this sort of thing is scheduling. That is probably the biggest
Yeah.
challenge of doing what it is that I do. So, and it was always hard for me to do just one band. I mean, I know a lot of people will do just one band, but when music starts to become, I guess, also your sole source of income, or your primary, I should say primary, because I do a couple of other things on the side as well. But when it becomes your primary source of income, it just becomes a lot more difficult to work with just one particular band and still be able to, kind of take care of all of your expenses and stuff and so forth. So you end up having to, work quite a bit to make it all, make ends meet and everything. And then sometimes you'll have scheduling conflicts,
Hmm.
unfortunately. And so but I mean the good news though, I mean I guess looking at it in a more positive perspective, there's a few of us drummers and we'll try to help each other out too, or we'll be like, hey, I can't do this particular tour because I've already agreed to do something else. Would you be interested in helping me out and do this tour? And then it could give somebody else an opportunity for that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
What
So
is like,
it's not all bad.
yeah, I mean, it's a good
Yeah.
thing. It's a good problem to have, right? Like,
It is. It
sorry, I
is.
can't.
I mean, I'm still. I wish I could duplicate myself and
You should be able
just
to.
say yes to everything
Yeah.
because I very much want to be there. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, it becomes really difficult to do, and it's something that I still am constantly wrestling with emotionally, because yeah, it's really difficult to make these decisions or
Yeah.
to tell someone that you play with often that like you can't do a particular tour, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
Does it come down to you committed more to the one band or you already started with them before or that the pay is better? Does it, I'm sure those kind of things factor into it, right? Like probably.
Oh yeah,
It's a business. I mean,
absolutely. I mean, there. Yeah, I mean, yeah. The I guess the business part of things does factor into into all this, not just sort of like an emotional feeling towards things. And yeah, I mean, I some of these groups I've committed to for a lot longer of a time period, so I've never missed a gig, for instance, with IMX. I think I'm 11 years in. Although there's bands I've played with for even longer, but maybe I've been in and out of it, like
Mm,
Psyclon Nine would be like one of those. Or and then Frontline Assembly, I've known the guys since 2009 or 10. I did a tour with them opening up, but I was on the bus with them with that
mm,
group. That's how I got to know Bill. And then I started filling in for the band first in 2017. So, I mean, so I have been working with the group for quite some time, but yeah, I mean, things happen, and for instance, yeah, I mean, IMX tends to book like well in advance too, so I already know almost a year ahead of time what my schedule is going to be like with them.
awesome.
So if another group starts to book after that, and then I'm already locked in, but they're getting an incredible opportunity. Of course, for the sake of the band, I want them to do that tour. They absolutely should do the tour if they have a great opportunity. And yeah, well, we just kind of are, figure out who we can get to kind of help out in the situation. It would be a lot easier to just do one particular group, but yeah, it does. I mean, on a business level, it becomes a little bit tricky to do just one group. And then also, like me as a drummer who's hired to literally just drum, I'm not part of the songwriting process or any of the other aspects of the group. It's usually like, in a lot of these cases, it's not really like four people coming together and equally contributing. It's usually one person's vision
Mm-hmm.
often.
Mm-hmm.
And so and then they need to hire on people like myself to come and help bring that vision to life, for tours and things like that. Anyway, I feel like I don't know if I went too
No, that's
far off
fine.
into the stratosphere on that one, but
No, that's
trying to
fine.
explain it. But
I,
yeah.
yeah, I like how you like to explain it to someone who's not that familiar with it, and to
Yeah,
really
because they'd
get
be like,
yeah, yeah,
they
I
might
get
be like,
that.
well, where's John on that tour? And
Yeah,
it's like, it's of course I want to be there. It's
yeah,
or maybe or where's so and so, and I'm in there. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I've jumped in and I've been the person filling in because someone couldn't do it, or maybe somebody had a family emergency, or something's going on and they just need to take 6 months off from being a road dog, and then I jump in. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just sort of par for the course. And the band as an entity needs to always, yeah, take these opportunities as they come. If the band gets an incredible opportunity,
yeah,
they should always take it.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's sad because it's like, of course I want to be a part, but yeah.
I feel that this day and age we live in, people are craving real shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like instead
Yeah.
of just being online and on TikTok, and it's cool that you have that outlet so you don't have to go on the road. But I feel, holy shit, what a difference when you are on stage as a musician, which is like so fulfilling, and
Oh
or
yeah.
as an audience member, right? Like I can actually, there's this energy, there is this magic. It cannot quite be duplicated online, in my opinion. And I love that you are so busy, you're thriving as an indie artist. I mean, it's not like Metallica or whatever, which is, I feel like you guys are Metallica in the underground world, you know what I mean? But it's just so cool and it makes me happy knowing that there is so much room for musicians to go out on the tour and to go and play clubs and get to explore not only other cities but other venues and the audience, because that's our bread and butter. Like, yeah, we want to get paid, but when someone comes up to you and says, oh my God, you inspire me so much, like, I love the way you're drumming, I love the way you just like watching you do your thing, that's just fucking magic behind that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons I do this sort of thing. I mean, I kind of have a mission statement for myself. I mean, I had to sort of think of like, okay, why am I doing this? You have to sometimes ask
Yeah.
yourself these questions, especially when you're going through rough patches with your career. But growing up, I got very much turned on to music, and it became sort of my sanctuary. And I really wanted to emulate these people that had such a strong effect on me. And to be able to then pass that on and I guess be on the other side and to be part of a group that has that much meaning, to somebody else and for them to express that and have that interaction where we can express, can communicate and I find out about that. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, that's definitely one of the reasons I continue to do this is to have those types of connections because I mean because yeah, I mean the artist and musician's path it is not easy. I mean, I feel like even if you're on, I can imagine even if there's more money involved, it still wouldn't be easy. For as long as I've been involved in this whole thing, this kind of living does kick your ass in
I was going
a
to
lot
say,
of
what is the
ways.
biggest challenge for
I mean,
you?
I know that was very general. Uh, um, the biggest challenge is, I mean, you've got to take care of your health. So. And it's really hard to do when you've got these late nights and then possible early mornings, and then you're trying to get enough sleep on an airplane or something like that, and you're sitting in coach. I mean, yeah, I'm not in those first class beds or anything like that on
God
a
damn it.
international flight or something. But anyway, yeah. So and I don't sleep very well on a plane
Oh,
and
me
that
neither.
sort of thing. And end up being in a plane often, going between, especially going between like Europe and the US. And so, yeah, taking care of your health, making sure you're getting enough sleep, eating properly. I mean, part of my book that I wrote was about doing my best to do that sort of thing because I realized that health is a huge part of staying in the game. A
Yes.
lot of people that I know, I mean, there are some, I call them Lemmys out there, like people that are like, Lemmy to me is this, I guess I look at him as this, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, he's an iconic person, but he's sort of, um, I guess in my eyes, without ever knowing the guy personally, um, he was the guy that was able to just be rock and roll to the core. I was like, okay, he's drinking, smoking, partying, doing all the wild stuff that we're like, wow, look at these. I guess we idolized that, growing up in my generation, we're like, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, and the fact that he seemed unscathed about it, just this person that's living this rock and roll life. Um, so anyway, looking to that, but I mean, most of the people that I saw that were doing the Lemmy thing, they didn't really. It was not a pretty picture, and in some cases, some of these people have passed on, and they passed on quite young because of
Yeah.
because of how excessive they went with drugs or booze or any of the trappings of rock and roll. So, and I dabbled here and there, of course. I mean, it's not like I haven't drank and partied and done this or that. It's just that I realized, especially at a certain point, that in order to get up every day and give it my all, that I have to really take care of my health. And I certainly don't want to burn out too early in my career. And it seems like, if you take care of your health, I mean, musicians now are paving a newer path. I mean, you can be, sort of a rock or an alternative musician and keep going into your 60s, 70s, and
Yep.
perhaps your 80s. I don't know. I mean, I
Hmm.
guess there's maybe no the end is when you choose you're done.
When you
When
tip
you
over.
choose that this is yeah, exactly. Well, so if you feel like you want to keep going, then you should, yeah, absolutely keep going. I can't really see myself slowing down.
Mm.
So, I mean, maybe slowing down in the sense of having a bit more of balance in my life, perhaps, where I'm not just grinding it on the road for most of the year.
Hmm.
I could see myself grinding it out for like half the year
Hmm. Yeah.
at a certain point. But I mean, like I mean, I think all of us, in order to have a life that feels fulfilling, we need to have purpose.
Yes.
We need to have something that gets us up in the morning and makes us want to like work towards a goal and do something. And so find that through drumming and through working for bands and helping them out as far as like playing the drums for them on tours. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I can't imagine ever wanting to stop. Maybe, I mean, you never know. I mean, you could always
Yeah.
have a change of heart at a certain point and want
Mm.
to shift gears or do something else. But when I see Alice Cooper out there still kicking ass,
So badass.
another
So
musician,
cool.
and it seems as if he's not interested in really stopping. So
Or Aerosmith.
good for him.
I
Or
was like,
Eris, yeah,
holy fuck. I'm like, damn. How old is he? You
yeah.
know?
I mean,
It
I know
just,
Steven Tyler can't sing anymore, so I don't know exactly what's wrong with him. I think he had some sort of maybe
oh,
vocal cord issue or something like that.
maybe.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to stop seeing him in the public. I think he'll still do other things because he's already kind of proven as an artist that he could do several things besides just sing. I mean, I'm not as versed in pop culture, but I believe he was on one of those, what, reality shows or something, or
Oh,
he
I
was
don't even
on
know.
he was on The Voice or America's Got Talent.
Okay.
I don't even know. I'm very bad with this stuff, so if anyone's listening and can correct that, then please do.
Yeah,
But
I
I'm
don't know
pretty
either.
sure he was on one of those. But anyway, he's doing something besides just getting on stage and singing. Yeah, and who knows? I don't know how old he is, but I would imagine he's in his mid 70s or
Yeah.
something.
Well,
So,
I think also, music keeps you young. And I love what you said, like, age doesn't matter. And I think especially in certain genres, like in industrial music, in like metal, rock, there's a lot of guys that are like in their 50s, 60s, whatever. I think that if you keep yourself in good shape and this is what you want to
mhm,
do, then you should not say, oh, I'm getting old. Like, fuck that. Like, if that's what lights you up, you only
yeah.
remember this one life here. So do what you love to do and don't worry about that as long as you're in good shape and and you are vegan. So I'm sure that is sometimes challenging for you, right? Because I know, like, I've cheated. Like, I was vegan, then I was vegetarian, and then I did a little bit meat in here and there.
Hmm.
And I was like, what's happening? I started researching all the vegan meats I was eating, and I'm like, oh my God, there's like so much shit in this. This is actually not
Hmm.
healthy at all. I might as well just eat real meat. Not that I like doing that because I really love animals. It's not because of me, it's because of the animals. What is the challenge for you? Do you cook? I think you talked about that last time when you said you had a little rice cooker
Oh yeah.
and beans, um, which is always a good one. But I'm sure that can be challenging, but you never really go, oh, fuck it, I'm just gonna eat that hamburger or
No, no,
whatever.
I think I'm wired in such a way, especially when it comes to food and some of my convictions, I'm not going to simply just budge and be like, oh hell, I'll just eat this pizza and take the pepperonis and cheese off or something
Right.
like that or whatever. I'm not one of those. I know that some people are wired differently and maybe they would go do something like that. But yeah, no, I try to just always be prepared. And it is still a constant challenge. Even though I wrote The Touring Vegan, I wrote that book,
Go get that book.
I
It's a
don't know,
great book.
2000. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I wrote it like 9 years ago, I guess. So it's been quite some time. And so I've learned quite a bit since. And I learned a lot while writing it as well, too, because I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I've got to figure out like, I've got to be able to back up what I'm saying and so forth and maybe, cite some sources and things like that, which I feel like even at this point in life I could have done a better job at that at the time, but whatever.
I think you
I
did a great job.
digress.
And you could always do an upgrade, an updated
That's true.
version. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is true. That is true. But anyway, yeah, with the food thing, I am always thinking of ways and yeah, getting vegan food is actually not so difficult. What is difficult is getting what I consider healthy food, and it happens
Exactly.
to be vegan.
Yeah.
And healthy food to me is just really simple food that hasn't been overly processed. I'm not really interested in eating foods with tons of vegetable oils or
Oh,
salt
yeah.
and different things that I think that can compromise your health. So I do try to eat, for those who are familiar, more of like, I guess, the whole food plant-based diet. I eat more along the lines of that with low sodium and the no oil. So my diet is probably very high in complex carbohydrates. It's very hot. It's very low in fat, very in moderate amounts of protein, and that seems to work quite well for me. Whenever I have gone in to get blood labs done, everything seems to be in good working order, which is great because
Yeah.
heart disease is a pretty bad. issue within my family, and I think we have familial high cholesterol, things like that. So I mean, I try to do all these things. I've done a lot, as much research as I could, like
Mm,
on how one can keep cholesterol levels. And even though, I've been vegan for so long, your body produces a lot of cholesterol. But if you're eating certain foods that can drive LDL cholesterol, up quite a bit.
mm,
So I try to make sure that, yeah, like saturated fat in particular is low. And that's where it's just like, yeah, I mean, you can get vegan food anywhere, but you're talking about those vegan meats. And they're a great food. They're great for people transitioning into maybe veganism, or maybe if you're into veganism because for just simply ethics and you're not
mm.
as concerned about your health. I don't think that they're horrendous. I don't think they're, sometimes, I look at some of the online chatter and people act as if, oh man, Frankenfoods. And I mean, if you look at the ingredients, I mean, it's not, I mean, I've certainly seen other foods look a lot worse than what's in a veggie burger.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I'm not interested in eating maybe the canola or the canola oil or coconut
It's
oil
in
and
almost
all the
everything.
sodium. There's just tons of sodium and
Crazy.
MSG and
Yes.
things like that that I'd like to stay away from. So, but I'll eat it once in a while. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where if it's I mean, if you're really hungry
If you're
and
freaking starving,
something is
you
there,
gotta eat
yeah,
some.
yeah. So there are moments where that will indeed happen, but more often than not, when I'm on a tour, I bring either an Instant Pot or a rice cooker with me. If I like on this Frontline Assembly tour. I've got to fly a bunch. It's mostly fly dates because if you look at the routing, it's all over the
Mm,
place. I think we're in San Diego, then the next day we're in Portland, for instance. So we're definitely flying. And anyway, I found that this really tiny rice cooker of mine, I can easily pack that with me, and I'll uh, I'll cook up oats or rice and get some fresh veggies or fruit and just make really simple meals.
hmm.
I don't need things to be overly stimulating and exciting when it comes to the food. Especially when I'm on the road. I'm more interested in just getting fuel that I think is, the healthiest choice. So that's what I do. Yeah, and it seems to work. And then yeah, I don't have a whole kitchen with me, so my recipes on the road are pretty basic,
Hmm. You cook
but
at
I like
home?
eating that way. Oh, yeah, yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
What's your
So I
favorite
make all,
dish? What's like your one of your favorite
oh,
vegan
that's
dishes?
tough. I mean, because I'm so active, I like heartier meals and things like that. So um, I make like a lentil loaf. I guess you could call it that. I mean, this
Oh.
is sort of old school vegan, so I make it would be something like a meatloaf and mashed potatoes type of dish, but
Mm.
I'm using lentils instead. And then I love lentils. So I mean,
Yes.
and that I use brown lentils for that. I also like this dish that I make that it's like a red lentil puree, but in there's a lot of basil and garlic and herbs in there, and there's tomatoes, um, and it's all blended up, and then I pour that over baked potatoes, and I really enjoy that. And then usually I'll have something, some vegetables to go along with it, whether they're cooked or if it's steamed or maybe something raw like a salad. I might have a salad, depending on the time of year. I tend to eat more salads in the summer, it seems, than
Yeah.
in the winter. But
Same.
but yeah, I mean,
Do you have an air
yeah. So what I
fryer?
eat is I do. Although it's
Oh,
funny,
sweet
I just gave it
potatoes.
away
Sweet
yesterday. Oh
potatoes
yeah,
in an air fryer.
air
Oh
fried
my
sweet potato.
God.
They're awesome. I mean, I just use the oven here, so I mean, that's part of the reason why I got rid of the air fryer because it's like, I use silicone baking sheets. That way I don't have to use any oil, and I'll chop up sweet potatoes, yeah, and then just bake them in the oven.
So
So
good.
if people are familiar, I always sing the praises of Dr. McDougall, but I follow more of his style of eating. He talks about eating mostly the calories that I eat are coming from starchy foods. So like sweet potatoes, rice,
Mm.
corn, oats, beans, things like that. That's going to be the majority of the caloric intake that I tend to lean towards. And then with it, fruits and vegetables and then spices to make things interesting.
Mm.
So, but that's how I've been eating for a very long time within the vegan world. Because I mean, just being vegan doesn't really say too much about what you're eating. It certainly
Yeah.
says what you're not eating, you know, and that would be animal products, but not. I mean, obviously, a lot of things could be vegan. You could eat beer and French fries and be vegan. So,
Very
so you
true.
know, and I know those people. I know the people. You know that's how they roll, and you know, we all got to do what we got to do. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking about health and I guess trying to lower my risk of heart disease and
Well, and
certain
you
things
feel
that run in the
good.
family.
Yeah, and you
I
feel
feel
good.
great,
You look
except
good.
for today. I'm tired,
Well,
but
you know, your
I was out in the
body's
sun and biking a lot, and yeah, and drumming, and yeah.
you're
So,
always active. I love that. What is the most fucked up road story? Is if there is one, share it with us if you don't mind.
oh wow. Yeah,
I
okay,
mean,
you've stumped me because there's also I can certainly think of stories, but there'd be like incriminating. I can't I feel like I can't throw people under the bus.
don't just don't say names
So
like
yeah. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean the kinds of stories you get are just I mean, there's definitely some like just bizarre characters and people and situations that you come across doing this sort of thing that I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure I could write a book of all the just the wild things that I've witnessed along the way.
like
But
before I started
and
touring.
something. Oh yeah, sorry, going.
No, before I started touring, I was like, I never like thought of these things, right? But then when we started crashing at people's places and like
Oh wow, yeah.
I was like, wow, people live like that. Like, or,
Oh yeah.
or someone saying, hey, you're in Memphis, whatever you do, don't stay with anyone. Hey, so you guys want to stay over at our place? And I'm like, what are you saying? And then they had like just crazy shit everywhere in their rooms, like a big shark, like had, when we walked in and we were just like, oh my God. So it's just hilarious to me, like the kind of people you meet and the funny
Oh yeah.
stories, there's like so many stories that I think that sometimes touring musicians get burned out. We both know several people who just quit. They're like, I'm over it. Like, I don't want to tour anymore. What no one can ever take from you. And when the times we've toured, I'm like, holy shit, these stories, I would do it over again in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? It just,
Oh yeah, there's some good ones, especially I'm thinking of the early days when yeah, when you mentioned crashing at people's houses, there's I mean that was all like every night would always be something bizarre, whether it's like yeah, like a house where it's just sort of like okay, they invite you in and trust me, we're very appreciative as band people that you let us, you know, on a tight budget, especially in those situations where you're yeah, then crashing at some, you know, random person's place. But yeah, you walk in and there's like cat shit like everywhere. They're like, "All right, here you go." And you're like, "Okay, I guess I can kind of make an L formation with my body around the cat shit that's right there." And you know, and then you go in the bath. I mean, you can imagine. I mean, well, I'll just say that and you can just kind of go from there with what we're working with. And
yes.
then on top of it, you know, there's usually it's one of those situations where like yes okay so we are very grateful but maybe we have to be up at 7 in the morning and we get there at 2 in the morning they're like all right let's party and you're like
Yes, yes.
no and so usually one or two people has to take one for the team
Right.
you know and just party and then sleep in the vehicle as we get to the next town so like and trying to have that conversation to your host of hey we just want to crash and we can't be talking until the sun comes up and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But I mean, the kinds of people that are like last minute that you meet at the merch table that are going to let you sleep at their place, it's like, you know, it's just they live by a different set of rules, and it's just you know that.
When they're so happy that, oh my
But
God, you're
these are
rock stars,
yeah, but this is the kind of goofy stuff. Like, and in these situations too, it'd be funny because, like, if someone was really tired and burned out, I can recall many of us being like, "I'll take the van tonight," you know, because someone would always sleep in the van just to make sure that no one breaks into it.
Right, right,
And so, and people are all like, you know, pulling straws for being the person who gets to actually just sleep in the van and
right.
recline there while everybody else is like, I guess, staying up until like 5 or 6 in the morning and talking about I don't know, bands talking about like, yeah, like rock, metal, industrial music and the scene, and you're like, oh boy, So again, very thankful that we've had those opportunities. We've got some great stories, all of us, I'm sure. But wow, yeah, those moments were definitely tricky. Um,
I
but
always felt so lame because I don't drink, I don't party when I tour, and I'm like, I know like people. I was always thinking, oh my God, when I get off stage, people are gonna be so disappointed because I'm so not the person on stage. You know what I
oh
mean?
yeah,
I'm like kind of way more chill and like, okay, let's just hang out and be quiet. Like I don't want to like fucking party and drink and whatever, go crazy. So it's like a little bit that fine line between, you want to be authentic, but at the same time, you're like, shit, I don't want to let them down. But yeah, that's who I
right.
am. Sorry.
Like
I'm
they're
tired.
thinking that you're going to be this super party animal. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can remember actually that is a funny story. I can think of a funny story now that you said that. I was in Budapest and I ended up touring with Mayhem later on, but this is and I saw them the night before because I played a show. Frontline Assembly played the festival with them, and they went on right after us. And so I kind of saw them there and watched their show from the side of the stage. But anyway, I think some of our guys talked to some of them. And so Attila, the singer of Mayhem, is from Budapest. So I didn't know he was going to be at the show. So we finish our show and I just go backstage. And I feel like I could have just been in my underwear at that point, just eating fruit, like shoveling the fruit tray down my mouth. And then all of a sudden he's coming in. He's like, hey man, I want, just to talk and shake my hand and stuff. And you know what I mean? Where you're just like sitting around in your underwear or something and or shorts or I don't know. And just like you're eating fruit, like just like, all primal style because you just got off stage and then, yeah. And, we're not shoveling, beers down our throats. We're just, I'm eating watermelon or something. And yeah, but anyway, I met him, and so I was like, "Oh wow, this is wild." I'm meeting like one of my idols as I'm like shoveling fruit. You know, to, I mean, there's definitely been a few of those moments where I've met idols or met people like some big shot, but in a very awkward moment. I think I won't say the band, and I won't well either the band, but that actually happened on this last tour. There was an altercation between me and another band member, which doesn't typically happen, but in this case something happened, and then right as that's happening, my buddy comes up with this guy, this singer of this big group in the scene, and he's just introducing himself to us and everything, and we're having to pause our little tiff that we're having together and just be like sort of normal. And it was the most awkward thing for everybody around because we're all just trying to act like hey, everything's cool, and
Oops.
and it's great to meet you and all this stuff. And yeah, anyway. But that's tour, that these things happen, and you're living with people 24/7, and sometimes it can get a little ugly. there's
Yeah.
there's ugly moments, but I mean, like, at the same time, if you have a level head, you can kind of work through those dark periods, and you try not to take a lot of stuff too personally. If you take
You
things too
can't.
personally, you might not make it too long in this type of an environment because it does get really intense. It can get intense. But I
Oh,
think
but
having as good of an attitude as possible can really help, you
right.
know? So
Yeah.
yeah.
We had a lot of, which was really funny. There would always be at every club, there's always this group of people that you just know. They're like they want the band. You know what I mean? Like the chicks, they have a hotel somewhere where they go and take the bands. And I would always laugh my ass off because I'm like, oh my God, this is just so fucking hilarious. And then there would be the people that are just, I don't want to be mean, but like, they have like three teeth and they're just like up front of the stage and they just like want to buy you drinks. And it can get a little bit weird sometimes, right? With that part is hilarious. So how do you guys deal with that? Like with the groupies, with the sex, drugs, and rock and roll? Obviously, it's not like that anymore because it's not sustainable. Like like if you're touring, like you guys, you're always on tour, you're a drummer. You gotta
Yeah.
fucking sit there and this is like a workout. This is not just like
Oh yeah.
even yeah, keyboard is a little bit
There's
easier. Let's be honest. It's not like you don't have to be as physical. Although all of you guys always put on 100%. How do you deal with that? The groupies.
We haven't been mixing it up within the crowd as much. I mean, so yeah, maybe in certain areas there might be people that are waiting outside like a bus or something like that. I mean, I can think of certain groups. Like when I first joined IMX, it seemed like yeah, there would be people waiting, to kind of meet the band or I feel like people maybe it's because we're all a little bit older now. I don't feel like there's so many like groupies, I guess,
Hmm.
or I guess in that traditional sense, where they're trying to like come after the band or hook up with the band or this or that, or maybe I'm just oblivious to it. Like,
Get on the
it
bus, you know.
seems like there's less of that. Yeah, there's less of that. But it's also sort of like the types of bands you're with and what they're inviting. I mean, because I've definitely in my younger days, some of the bands I toured with, either the band itself or maybe the other groups that are on the tour, it could be more of this like Motley Crue type of thing where I say Motley Crue type of thing in the sense
Right.
of
Yeah.
okay, when I think of Motley Crue, I think of sex, drugs, and
Yep.
rock and roll, and I think of like, yeah, like after parties and groupies and that whole thing. I feel like that happened a bit more, in my 20s and even maybe in my 30s there was still, but I feel like things have changed now. I don't know if it's again like people have gotten older and that seems to be a thing that like generally happens with in the younger crowds or
Mm,
I'm not sure, maybe it's happening in other scenes, I don't really know, but it
mm.
seems I'm not trying to make us sound uncool, but yeah, there just doesn't seem like there's I mean people want to meet the band but I don't it's certainly people aren't throwing themselves at band
Right.
members like maybe you would see back in the day or something like that.
Another thing, mental health and tour. Like, how do you balance that? Because I'm sure sometimes, for me personally, I love touring. But I know that there were certain people in my band at the time when we were on tour that I could tell they were just not made for that. Not everybody's made for the tour because it's not always, you might have family at home or in general, you're like, oh, I just want to do something else. Or they go on tour and then when they come back from the tour, they are completely depressed because they're like, shit, like I don't even know what to do with myself. Like you don't seem
Yeah.
that kind of a person because you were like, oh, let's freaking like I mean, maybe a little bit, but let's practice my drums, right? And get a little break. But how do you manage that? Like, do you do some yoga, some meditation? Like, how do you stay grounded and centered, like in between tours and or
Mhm.
shows, travels?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, yeah, the to stay grounded, first of all, I mean, it's definitely a mindset thing. Um, you, you're living with people 24/7 and even if you're getting to do the thing that you want to do, you're fatigued half the time and all the more reason to, continue to try to like put your health as a priority while you're on the road, sleep and the right foods and exercising and all that kind of stuff. Um, but and that's going to help your mental health for starters, but you have to have a healthy mindset about it all. You have to realize, like, hey, I'm in some really challenging conditions here, and and maybe there's challenging personalities on the road with you too, whether it's within the band or the crew or this or that, and you have to really kind of dig within yourself, like, okay, what is my mission here? My mission is to, I'm here to play the drums. I'm here to be a cog in the wheel so I can put on the best show for these people that are paying to come and see it, that want to see one of their favorite bands. If I keep that focus in mind, it really helps me through any dark moments. And then, yeah, just all that other stuff, those health habits really help too. And like when I'm off the road, I bike everywhere for
That's awesome.
starters. I mean, I ride my bike, so I'm a very physical person, and I feel like if I'm very physical throughout the day, and if I do things to mentally stimulate myself, like I listen to books on tape or I listen to podcasts or just music, of course, if I'm trying to memorize something, I listen to music for fun too, but because I'm doing so much work, it seems like I get to do less music just for the joy of listening to it because
Hmm.
I feel like I'm more on the other end trying to like put it out there. But anyway, I digress. The biking, the physical movement, that really keeps me centered. And then having a good friend, having or friends, just having people that if you are really going through a rough patch, it is good to know that you can lean on a couple people and just sort of have a conversation to try to get grounded again. You know, if you feel as if like you're kind of losing it a bit mentally. And I mean, I guess touring too, it's like you're always having to put on a happy face, so to speak, because even within the camp, because you don't want your band leader thinking you're, oh man, this person's the Debbie Downer or this or that, or always complaining, or is a the wet blanket, whatever expression people use, to describe someone who's just complaining a lot. So even if you're feeling a certain way, you have to sort of put on this positive vibe, which can be tough to do. You're kind of
Yeah.
like acting. I mean, there's certainly moments where I'm acting on the road just for the sake of the unit. I'm trying
Mm.
to think of the whole entire unit or everybody, because maybe somebody over there is having an incredible time, an incredible experience. And I don't want to like rain on the parade, so to speak, if I'm having a bad moment, but it is good to be able to lean on somebody. So maybe you make a phone call and call that person when there's a moment and have a heart to heart, something to
Yeah.
kind of get you grounded again. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy because it's like you're married to like four people or five people, and
Oh, yeah.
you're with them all the time. I remember that too, like being, oh my God. And for me, it was even more different because I was in a relationship with Jim, so we were together, and that creates sometimes a lot of tension too when you're with someone in the band, you know what I mean? And then the other
Hmm.
people get very uncomfortable when you start arguing. They're
Oh,
like,
God. Yeah.
oh shit, okay, we're gonna go now. I'm like, no, it's
Oh, yeah.
okay. We can all have just like a little discussion or whatever. But I can see that speaking of relationships, that's also like really more of a single person or someone. If you had someone or have someone, that person has to be very understanding because, this is your livelihood, right? This is your career that you've chosen. It's like someone who, I guess, who's like a stewardess or something, who's always,
Yeah. You're
on
gone a lot.
traveling. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
so it's really tough.
yeah,
It can be really tough. You definitely
yeah.
have to be, yeah, yeah, yeah. If you're in a relationship, you have to be with someone who definitely understands that. And you have
Yeah.
to, I mean, disclose that sort of thing kind of going in, like I leave a lot,
Yeah.
and sometimes a tour could even happen last minute or something, and then that puts me on the road for a month or something
Yeah.
like that. I mean, that's in the realm of possibilities. Because of the career that I guess we've all kind of sculpted and put together. I mean, that
Mm.
these are all possibilities that could happen, and you got to strike when the iron's hot, sort of thing. I mean,
Oh
if
yeah.
a band is in high demand and all these tours and festivals are happening, it's like you got to do it. You got to
Mm.
do the thing. So it does take a lot of sacrifice, and it does in having understanding friends, family, if you've got a boyfriend or a girlfriend, all that kind of thing. So, it really takes a lot of
Mm.
understanding. It is tricky. It's hard for both
Yeah.
sides,
Yeah.
It's not easy.
And you still have your place in LA. So you gone most of the time, but you always have a place to come back home to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've got a place in LA and then I've got my drum studio and
That's
yeah,
awesome.
so everything's
Mm.
cool,
Mm.
as far as that goes.
Because when we were on tour, we almost thought about like letting our place go and just go stay on the road. Thankfully we didn't do that.
Oh,
But
I've done that. Put everything in the storage.
yeah,
I've done all sorts of things to kind of make ends meet
yeah,
or try to. It's
juggle.
difficult. I mean, if anyone's thinking of going into music, it is not easy. I mean, I don't know, but who if someone's young and going into music now, I mean, their story is going to be different than mine. Just as
Yes.
like my story is different from all the heroes that I grew up listening to
Yeah.
because things changed. We didn't
Hmm.
have. I grew up with cassettes and CDs, I mean, just that alone. And bands didn't tour nearly as much as they do now. I feel like I've probably done more shows than Metallica,
Do you
just
think?
based on like the amount of touring that I'm doing, you know what I mean? Like a band that I grew up
Yeah.
listening to,
Yeah.
because I think that a lot of bands just, they grind it out on the road. I mean, that's just how you earn a living as a
I was gonna
musician. You sell
say,
t-shirts and you
yeah.
grind it on the road. I mean, that's kind of the deal, right?
Do people still buy CDs? Like when you guys are on, like, how's that as far as the music goes? I know merch, like, obviously t-shirts and stuff like that, hoodies, but
Sure.
how's the CD sales going or like vinyl?
Vinyl, yeah, and CDs and cassettes for that matter. I mean, people are buying that stuff,
Cassettes?
so cassettes, that's been like kind of a trendy thing. I mean, kind of like bringing vinyl sort of back around was sort of this trendy thing, but now it's just straight up a thing. Uh,
That's so
I've toured with
cool.
several bands that have a lot of vinyl releases, and they, a lot of these groups I'm in seem to sell quite a bit of vinyl on the road. So that's cool. I mean, it's cool to see that. I mean, I don't own physical. I mean, I'm a musician who doesn't own physical copies of
Same,
things.
same,
So
same,
yeah, I'm because I try to be as much of a minimalist, and
same.
I was
Yes,
forced into minimalism a while ago, but then I enjoy
I
being.
love
I
it.
don't need to. Sure, I like a record. I like the sound of and the idea of a record. That's all cool, but I don't like it enough to have a collection and then to have it stored somewhere. If I had a huge place and I never had to move around or have moments where I lived in my drum studio in this tiny little room, it just, I try to keep my footprint very low. Drums are big and bulky, and I need to have all sorts of drums for
Yes.
whatever the gig requires. So I'm already, I've got a lot of baggage to begin with. So it's just, to have more stuff like vinyl, it's just too much for me. So
I
yeah.
get that.
But
And
I do think it's cool though.
yeah,
And I'm glad that people are buying it,
buying it.
you know.
Yeah. I think they might just also buy it just to have it. That doesn't mean that they necessarily play it, or use it. But coming back to
Sure.
minimalist,
Yeah, no, I get it.
yeah, to minimalist style, like when I left LA, same thing. I just got rid of most all of my shit, and I was like, whatever fits in my car, that's gonna come with me. Um, and this is so liberating. It's so liberating to not have that much crap because I think
Yeah.
what matters the most are our experiences, you know?
That and people and yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
sort of what I'm not moved by things and objects, I mean, if I came across millions of dollars, I don't know what I would really do with that, except for maybe buy myself time, the ability to just simply keep doing but I don't need a fancy car or a fancy house. I guess that stuff doesn't really matter to me, just the only thing that really seems to matter is experiences,
Yeah.
people and experiences and sure, roof over your head, but I don't really need anything special, on a personal level. I mean, I lived in my drum studio for quite some time, which is, that's hard living. So if you can do that, you're one step away from being homeless. So it's like if you're able to do that for a period of time and yeah, I mean, you're just grateful to have anything, honestly. I'm grateful that I've got a kitchen here, this is cool. I can make big meals and do also, it's like I need very little,
Yeah.
but I do need to be able to rock. I need to continue to rock and do music. I don't
You need a big
that
stage. Little things are
I need
not,
a
but a
big
big fucking
stage and
stage.
lights and fans and all these
There you
people,
go. There you
that's all
go.
I need.
Yeah. I think that's fucking awesome. And also the lifestyle you live, you wouldn't even enjoy it. Like if you had a big ass freaking house and, a fancy
And I
car,
have to clean it.
yeah, you would never be home. You're like, oh, I got a big
Yeah.
ass house, but I'm never home. So it's not the
The
time to
property
even have
tax is
that.
killing me. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's
So
like,
yeah, it just
shit. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'll have, there's moments where I get to be at somebody's big fancy cool house and I can kind of just soak it in a little and just be like, "Ah, this is neat. This is pretty sick," but that's about the extent of the feeling that I get where I'm not like overly envious, like, "Oh my God, I need to have it."
Yeah.
I'm
You
just
know,
like, "Ah, cool."
I remember we played, I don't know where, somewhere on the East Coast, and same thing. They invited us over and they had this giant mansion. And I was like, fuck, that'd be so nice to have that, right? Like, but you know what? When we talked, he was like, yeah, you love what I got, but I love what you got. Because you guys just fucking go out there, get on stage. That's courage.
Oh,
Like
sure.
we forget that sometimes because it's like normal, right? As a performer, you're like, yeah, that's what I do. But to them, it's like, holy shit, like I wish I could do that. Like that is living the dream for them. Yeah, they have the material stuff, but
Right.
they admire, they feel like you're living the dream too. And in their fantasy because they would never be able to do that or can't do it or whatever the case may be. So I think it's so interesting that success is such a subjective thing. Like, somebody might say, oh, success to me is like having this mansion. Someone else's success is like doing what I love, waking up in the
Yeah.
morning and being excited that I can get behind my drum set and play with bands that I freaking admire. And I get to be part of that. Speaking of
Yeah.
that, what is like one of the coolest moments where you were like, somebody just fucking pinch me?
Well, I mean, when I was on tour with Ministry, they had me come up and do Ricky's Hand, which is a Fad Gadget cover. So I came up and yeah, being on stage, doing background vocals with Ministry was pretty
Fuck
cool.
yeah.
Jumping up on the mic, and I think there's some footage of it, somewhere on YouTube. But like, I was wearing a beanie with my hair all tucked in because I had a big gash on my forehead from the night before.
Oh
There was
no.
a loading accident that happened, and I had I basically, yeah, I kind of split my the skin in my head, like, so I've got a little bit of a scar there now. But anyway, long story short, so it was all bandaged up, and I was wearing like a hat for the next few shows. And so I don't know if it looks, I mean, I'm up there, but yeah, I got to do some
Yeah,
background vocals.
it's me.
But I wasn't in my raging glory of with the hair down or anything like that. So
Ah.
but it was still fun. It was cool that, I was just watching them side stage, and I think Monty was like, "Come over and do some backup vocals." And I was like, "What?" He's like, come on, do it." I was like,
Fuck yeah.
"Okay." So I try to not be awkward because I'm like, "Oh man, this is so cool." And like, yeah, yeah, there was a few cool moments with Ministry on that tour. Obviously, like, they're heroes of mine, and
Yes.
so to be able to be any sort of part of that, even if it's just like jumping on stage. And because there was a few moments where they did like Jesus Built My Hot Rod a few times, and at the very end, and like they just, people from the other bands would go on stage, and we're like moshing on stage with them or something like that. It's like, and you got like Gary Newman, he was on the tour too, and he's doing it as well. And it's just like, this is kind of surreal and wild,
Wow.
these legends. It's like, okay, I'm running around, and I felt like, yeah, Wayne and Garth, with the Alice Cooper thing. It's like, oh, you know,
So
but
fucking cool.
but you got to keep it cool, man. They can't know that, you're this big fan.
I know we got to wrap it up. Who
Oh
who
yeah,
are one of your biggest, like, where you got starstruck a little bit? Like I have several actually, especially when I lived in LA. I was like, Jonathan Davis. Oh my God.
oh
It's like,
wow, yeah,
but it's like, and it's funny because in a way they're just people like you and me. But it's still, some of
sure.
these people, I mean, they've changed my life, right? Like when I listened to that music, I was like, holy fuck, like it's like you're talking in my ear, It's just, oh God. And now you're standing there like, holy shit. Is there someone?
Oh yeah, I got to meet people from two of my favorite bands from doing shows or just being around. And my two favorite bands, well, I've got a few, Wasp and also
Wasp.
Slowdive. Slowdive, which is totally different from Wasp, of course, but those are like some of my favorite bands. And anyway, I got to meet Chris Holmes in my early days living in LA at a NAMM show. So
Nice.
and I never walk up to people, but because he was in Wasp, and like I said, they were like one of my childhood favorite bands. So I absolutely had to go and be assertive and walk up to, because often if I see someone, I mean, that same day I saw Ronnie James Dio, and this was right before he died too. He was standing right sort of next to me, and I was like, oh man, like, because he happened to just kind of walk and stop like right near me with like a guy that he was with, and I was like, holy shit, that's Ronnie James Dio. But I didn't say anything because I felt too weird. I was like, that's gonna be awkward. So, but anyway, I did sit with Chris Holmes from Wasp, and then Slowdive played one of the festivals that I was doing last year. I think it was Sick New World.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And so I played that one, and they were on the same stage as us. So I got to talk to the drummer for a little bit after their set, and watch them from the side stage. And I just love that band. So yeah, that was cool. There's been a lot of people where I'm just like, yeah, there's so many groups that I really admire. And then I worked at a restaurant that had so many celebrities that come in, and rock stars and whatnot. So I did get to meet or wait on quite a few people that I really admire, like Ian Astbury from the Cult, and I got to
Yeah.
meet, the singer from Sigur Rós, and wait on him, and it's just so many bands. Ozzy Osbourne was in there at one point, but I wasn't waiting on him when that happened, and I saw him. I was walking into work, and he was there, and I was like, oh man, that's cool. But
What
anyway, yeah,
restaurant
yeah.
was
There's
that?
the Real Food Daily
Okay.
in West Hollywood. I'm no longer there anymore, so I feel like I've got I'm able to just say it.
Now
But
you're a
yeah,
rock
that
star.
back
Now
in the
you're a rock
back
star.
back in the day, it was like serious like celebrity hang restaurant. There was a lot,
Wow.
so I was waiting tables there for like 7 years.
Mm. You did
But
the
yeah,
grind,
so
man.
you
You
do a lot of you meet a lot of people do just work waiting on tapes. That's how I met IMX. I was
no
waiting
way.
on them. Yeah. And then a year later, they asked me to audition because they enjoyed meeting me, I guess.
That
So
is
that's
so
that's kind of how that
cool.
happened.
I'm so
Yeah.
glad you shared that. I meant to ask you that, like, how the connection actually started, you know? That is so cool. Yeah, you
Yeah,
never
they were
know,
having
right?
lunch. Yeah, they were having lunch with a tour manager that I had as well with another band, and we just talked about food for a little bit, and then that tour manager hits me up a year later, and they're like, "Hey, Chris and Janine and the band's moving to Los Angeles. Do you want to audition? They need a new drummer." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I'll audition. That's awesome." So
And how cool. It was a year later. And you
yeah,
probably
it was a
didn't
year
even
later. It
expect
didn't
that.
happen.
Yeah.
No, no, I didn't expect it at all. I just figured I was like, I'm meeting this cool, mysterious artist. I had a lot of respect. I mean, I still have, not in past tense, I still have respect, of course, for what he had done, I'm thinking of the time. That's why I was using past tense. But anyway, and I was a fan and still am of Sneaker Pimps and
Oh yeah.
all that. So yeah, so meeting him, I was like, cool, and I had always heard that he was this mysterious guy, and so yeah, it was cool to just sort of hang out and talk. We didn't talk about music at all. We just talked about food, and that was it. And
I
then
love that too. Like when you like just, just connect on whatever interests you and it's not it seems more organic and natural than like, so anyway, who do you love?
yeah, give me a gig. Just
Get
give
me a
me a
gig.
gig.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
a really
yeah.
good
No, it
drummer.
wasn't it. Yeah, no, it didn't. It just yeah, we it was just more natural, I guess. I don't know. Just sort of
Mm.
like I just kind of, no matter who it is, when I was working in that environment, I can't be a fanboy to people, even if I admire their work or whatnot. I mean, there was, like I said, there was all sorts of people coming in there that were total big shots, whether it was a movie star or a rock star or something like that. And you have to act as if, oh, I don't know that I'm waiting on whoever, this is just some random person.
Yes. It's
So
awkward. It's just really awkward. Like I never knew
yeah,
what to say. Like I met Marilyn Manson once, like, and I was just like, what's up?
yeah.
I was like, just
I
shut the
think
fuck up, Jacqueline. It's just
I think I did that with Dave Mustaine from Megadeth. I just was like, I really like your music, and I
yeah.
shook his hand, and I bolted. That was it. And I was like,
I think
I
that's
like
what
what
I
you
said.
do.
I
And
said,
he's
I,
and
I
he
just love
was
your
just like,
music.
and then I pieced out. I was
Yeah.
like, that's all. That's it. So,
It's like, nice meeting you. Bye. Yeah, it's kind
yep.
of weird. It's very weird. Last question. What's your pet peeve?
Oh, my pet
I
peeve.
ask
I
all my
probably have a
guests.
few.
Yeah.
My pet peeve.
Tell us all about it.
Um, I'm trying to think of how to. I'm not a fan of people that aren't team players. So like I look at myself as being a team player when I'm touring or doing anything, and in this, it's a group activity, and maybe I like people. I like us all to kind of like, I mean, and sure, certain people, there's tasks that are delegated to certain people, maybe because their strength is in a certain
Mm,
area. But if I feel as if someone's maybe slipping or not putting in a lot of effort, it is a little bit of, I mean, I keep it to myself. I just boil and fester inside, but I don't really, yeah, I don't like that. It's one of those things. It is music, so there's a certain level of narcissism with people that you work with, and I'm not a big fan of people that are overly narcissistic. But I mean, that's gonna happen in this field. I've learned to kind of just roll with it a bit more and try to not let it bother me so much. But I think I came from this more modest punk rock
Right.
background where bands would play on the ground, and it wasn't like no one was being idolized sort of the way. It's funny because there is a dichotomy because I watched MTV and I idolized bands and that sort of thing. But as far as when I first started playing music, I was in punk groups playing on the floor with the people on the floor, and it was just like everybody's equal kind of thing.
Right.
So I think when that kind of shapes you a little bit, it's the punk rocker in me is never really left even to this point. But I am mellowed out a little bit, so
Mm.
even though those things kind of bother me, I also accept it. And you know what? And to be honest, it might make it so that I mean, some of the some people that are maybe a bit more, I guess, narcissistic or something like that. Maybe that makes them a great performer because they have no
Right.
filter on stage to really express like this thing or something like that. I don't know. It's hard to say, but at the same time, I'm kind of working through it in my mind. Maybe it's an essential part of the equation. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, but it feels like a pet. I guess selfish. Like what comes with some of this stuff is what I'm getting at. Like
Right.
selfish behavior. I don't like
Yeah.
selfish behavior.
Yeah.
That's what it is. When I feel like someone's literally walking over somebody else or feeling entitled to not help out while everybody else is grinding.
Right.
Like that sort of those are the types of things that I think
Mm.
are bothersome to me. But again, like I think it's important to kind of like keep it cool in a group, you know what I mean, and setting. So, with certain people you can maybe bring things up, and in other situations you might not be able to bring that up. You might have to just roll with it.
What's the biggest advice you would leave anyone with that may want to pursue the touring route?
The biggest advice would probably be to, um, well, if you're gonna dive into this like full force, and this is really what you want to do, I think there's nothing that's gonna stop you, honestly.
Mm.
So. I was gonna say like, really ask yourself if you could deal with all the stuff that you're gonna probably have to sacrifice in the process of pursuing this passionate dream. I mean, there's a lot you end up missing out on. I miss out on a lot of like deep relationships with people, just from constantly grinding on the road. It's really tough to have
Mm.
that sort of thing. So if you want like sort of any normal life and normal relationships with people, I think that that's going to be a little bit complicated if their story ends up being similar to mine. I don't know. Some people find a way to have more balance. I would say just get ready for that.
And
So
where can
yeah.
people find you?
Well, I mostly just Instagram or Facebook. I have a TikTok, but someone took my name, so I'm like Jon Siren 3 on TikTok, but I never use it. So I think there's already Jon Siren 1 and 2, so I'm number 3. Um,
What the fuck?
didn't know there was all these Jon Sirens out there. But anyway, yeah, I'm on Instagram. It's probably just yeah, my name. I don't have an H in it. It's just Jon and then
Mm.
Siren. It's my last name, my actual last name. I
Wow.
know a lot of people. So yeah, no, I always it's not a stage moniker, it's a Finnish last name. So I was just in Finland actually not too long ago, and I was talking about it with some Finns, and they're like, "Oh yes, Siren, it's very, there are
Oh,
other,
Saran. Oh, that's
so
cool.
yeah, yeah,
Saran.
yeah.
Saran.
So
John
but
Saran.
anyway, yeah, it's spelled Siren or whatever. I just say everyone says Siren, so
Yeah.
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 There you
So
go.
cool. Oh my God. I can't wait to like keep watching you, what you're doing. And I don't know, are you playing on the 23rd in Baltimore? There's like some shows.
Probably.
I'm doing a show with N Ash. Like I'm actually
Oh yeah.
singing with
Okay, yeah,
him.
we are playing with Nash, I think. Are you
Yes.
you're
I'm
in his
singing with
band
him.
with that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, hell yeah. All right, so I will see you there.
Yeah. And he was gonna do a whole month long tour and I was like, cool, yes, I'm in.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Man,
Yeah.
it's so cool to hear from you and thanks for sharing all the insights. And we should do another episode of just funny stories, so I'll give you more time to think about it.
Oh yeah, I could think about a
Just like
few and
fucked
shield
up
shield
fucking
names
stories.
and oh
Shield the
God, yeah,
names, but
there's definitely some good ones in there.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
All right, you have an amazing rest of your evening, and I will talk
All
to you
right.
very soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, you take
Yes,
care.
you too.
I'll see you.
Thanks.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you follow John. He's a super cool dude and obviously super down to earth. So feel free to hit him up. And if you are in a band or you need a drummer, he might be the one. You know what I'm saying? Although he's pretty busy. So good luck with that. But if you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe, share with someone who could really benefit from this and like this. And also check out my website, pinkstarmusic.com, if you're interested in my shawls, cool, functional fashion. Go check it out and say hi. Let me know how you like the episode. And if you know of any musicians or if you're a musician and you would like to be on the show, definitely hit me up. I would love to have you and have a conversation with you because music is life and being a musician is definitely not easy. But as you heard from John, it's very fulfilling and it's something that he really is passionate about and loves to do. So always follow your dream, follow your bliss, and make every day a great day. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you for listening.